Hello everybody and welcome to today's Sunday sermon, which is the 28th Sunday of the year, and it's the 9th of October 2022. Today's Gospel is encouraging us to be more thankful and grateful to God for all that He is doing. We will see the examples of what happens when the 10 lepers are healed. One of them comes back to thank Jesus. We are learning today that this is a most beautiful thing to say thanks to God and to anybody who helps us to be gracious and thankful. Why should we be thankful to God, some may ask? Well, here is a list that will help us to be reminded that yes, God is doing great things for us and for me and for you every moment of our lives. We wake up every morning to see the sun shining. We hear the birds whistling and chirping. We see beautiful flowers and trees and mountains and lakes. We see people, neighbours. We see our own children, our partners, in the house that we live in. We feel good. We may have good health. We may have a job. We may have good wages. And the list goes on and on. In other words, let us all count our blessings. So really, we have no right ever to grumble. We complain nearly most of the time. We are never totally satisfied. Some people call it the human condition. But really we need to have a sense of gratefulness and thankfulness in our lives. We sometimes have the attitude that all the goodness that we have in our lives is our own making. And we may have a little bit of this, well, I deserve it, and I worked for it, and therefore I am entitled to this, not realizing that it is God who provides us with everything. Yes, we work and we use our brains, we have our talents, and we use our strength and our courage to achieve things in this world. However, we should never forget that it is God who has given us these gifts. To take credit for His blessings as if you earned them by your own efforts would be to slight God. Today we are to use the word leprosy as another way of explaining our spiritual sickness. What is our spiritual sickness? We're all prone to say, I may have my faults, after all I'm only human, but I'm not a terrible sinner. I'm basically a good person. That's what the Pharisees said about themselves, and by doing so they missed Jesus' saving grace. Like the Pharisees, we too sometimes may not feel our need for Jesus in our lives. I think that if you think that you are basically okay in God's sight, this is a sure way to receive nothing from Him. We have closed ourselves from being humble and being gracious, and therefore we receive nothing, we learn nothing, we gain nothing. When we don't need God's mercy, for instance, then we cannot be helped. Therefore, the first step to receiving God's blessings is to acknowledge our desperate condition before Him, our desperate need of His mercy. Grace is getting what we do not deserve. And it is true to say we don't deserve anything. This is the only way that we can come to God for deliverance from leprosy of sin, is to acknowledge that we deserve God's wrath and to appeal for His mercy. The good news is that God delights to show mercy to those who cry out for it. Now, there's a difference between healed and salvation, being saved. The one leper who came back to thank Jesus experienced salvation, while as the other 9 received healing, but they didn't get salvation. Salvation was afforded to the one leper, the Samaritan, because he was gracious and thankful and humble and was aware that it was God who healed him. We love God because He loves us, and also He's looking after us in everything, even the very breath we breathe. Without Him, we wouldn't even be here listening and watching what I am saying today. We owe everything to God, therefore. Praise be to God is required for us on our lips at all times. So let us become aware of our refusal to see ourselves as spiritual lepers, because we have seen the parameter for sinfulness is the 2 great commandments, namely to love God with all our hearts and our minds and all our very beings, and to love our neighbour as we love ourselves. Now, who of us can say that they love God completely? The answer is no one, because if we loved God completely, we would never get bored of prayer, and we would always be singing and glorifying God and thanking Him and seeing His great works in our world. We don't love our neighbour as we love ourselves, because if we did, we wouldn't even sleep at night, knowing that so many people are hungry, dying in wars, innocent people being maimed and killed in every moment that we can imagine. These great crimes of evil are happening all around us, and we live in our own cocoon world. We would never sleep a wink of sleep if we could see the world as God sees it. Let's all learn from the example of the one leper, the Samaritan, who came back and thanked Jesus and responded to Jesus' blessings, especially the blessing of salvation. We should join him in glorifying God at the feet of Jesus with thankful hearts. This is the month for dysautonomia awareness. This is a class of diseases that affects the autonomic nervous system. The awareness and also the fundraising to help those with the disease is a real Christian call. And we pray for anyone suffering for this, and also we pray for those who are working in laboratories and trying to find a solution to this condition. May God bless them. May God bless you and help you to have a wonderful day and a wonderful week ahead of God's blessings. And also respond to Him by thanking Him and praising Him every moment of your lives.